And then there were 4. Tonight, there are 2. The first of the semi-finals of the Rugby World Cup, a resurgent All Black side against a Pumas team in what is now their 3rd World Cup semi-final. How impressive it is to see them go from the days of being also-rans in the early 90s to a legitimate, top-quality rugby nation they are today. The winner takes it all and moves on to the final. The loser stands small and has to wait for the 3rd and 4th place playoff. Everything to play for between 2 fine teams. Coverage of the Rugby World Cup continues here on the Coach's Corner. And as always, you are all welcome. Yes, people, as always, you are welcome, and the title says it all. New Zealand against Argentina, live from the Stade de France, the first of 2 titanic semi-finals of this Rugby World Cup, which will be coming to a conclusion. What a tournament we've seen. We've seen shocks galore. We've seen certain rugby teams rise to the occasion. We've seen some teams flounder, one earlier than others. And quite simply, in terms of the quality of the rugby that's been played, there's been some great rugby during the pool stages, but come the knockouts, that's when the cream rises to the top. And some of the games that have been played so far have been absolutely outstanding. We've seen 3 pool winners out of 4 exit at the quarterfinal stage, and both of these teams here finished runners-up in their respective pools. But it just goes to show, you don't need to be the best in the world. You just need to be the best on that given day. And that's exactly what New Zealand and Argentina were. New Zealand, later on in their day, producing an absolutely titanic performance against the world #1 ranked Ireland team, sending Jonathan Sexton and Keith Earls into retirement and breaking Irish hearts. And earlier on in the day, a rather young and inexperienced Welsh team had dreams of going through to a semi-final themselves, only for Nicolas Gonzalez to swoop in and say, "Not tonight, boys. You're going home." A devastating loss for the Welsh team, which prides themselves on their rugby prowess. And for several of the youngsters in their team, it was an absolute choker. For the older members in the team, several of them also will have seen their international careers ended. But some storylines end and other storylines continue. And we are going to come right now to the team news for tonight's game. And if you're asking where Hanno is, he will be joining us momentarily. He's just gone to perform an errand or two, and obviously he needs to get a drink or something. And I want to make sure that I've got my TV working, so I'm just going to make sure that that's working in good order. And yep, all is well that ends well. And so the most important thing is that you can't see what's going on. Now, the big news here from New Zealand's point of view, if we take a look at the 15, is that there have been 2 changes made to the team which beat Ireland. Instead of the number 11 for that day, it will be Mark Talea who comes back into the team. And also making his comeback is Sam Whitelock at number 4, who replaces Brodie Retallick, who performed a brilliant job alongside Scott Barrett in the lineouts. And Whitelock, of course, came on to join the back row and add a lot of height to New Zealand's team as they looked to make sure that their defence was up to scratch against a furious Irish onslaught that particular day. Other than that, it is basically the same lineup with Beauden Barrett at fullback. Will Jordan and Talea, of course, will be the backs alongside him. Rieko Ione and Geordie Barrett will be the centres at 13 and 12 respectively, with Richie Mo'unga and Aaron Smith as fly half and scrum half respectively. And in the front row, Ethan de Groot and Tyrell Lomax will be alongside Cody Taylor, packing down in the front. As mentioned, Whitelock and Scott Barrett will be together. And the back row is still the same of Shannon Frizzell, Captain Sam Kane, and Vice-Captain Ardi Surveyor. And among the substitutes, the backup, The backup hooker will be the elegantly named Samisoni Taukeaho, with Tamati Williams and Fletcher Newell, the backup props. Brody Retallick, of course, makes way for Sam Whitelock, but finds a place on the bench. And Dalton Papali will also be expected to play a role as a backup to one of the back row forwards. Finlay Christie, Scotland-born. That's one Scot who will be in the semi-finals. He is the backup scrum half for Aaron Smith. Damien McKenzie will be a backup to one of the centres, and Anton Leonard Brown will back up one of the backs. So a fairly strong team selection there for New Zealand, I would say. And obviously it's a sign of just how well packed they are, that they can afford to make those two changes. A bit surprised, really, with the decision to bring Whitelock back into the team. But obviously, I think the coach, Foster, might feel that Whitelock might have a little bit of an edge in terms of sheer size and physicality over Retallick, who actually does have the better movement in a way. And I'm just going to take a look at the, obviously the, yeah. And it was, in fact, Lester Fanganaku who scored one of the tries, the first try for New Zealand against Ireland, who makes way. He sadly doesn't even find a place in the squad. I don't know if he's picked up an injury of some sort, but we will find out later on soon enough. Now, as for the Argentinian team, obviously earlier on in that day, they beat Wales quite brilliantly with a wonderful interception try. They were 10-6 down at half-time, but their recovery was absolutely magnificent. And there have actually been a raft of changes to this team. At fullback, it is... I'll just tell him, just go to this one here. Yep. At fullback, we've got Juan Malia, Emiliano Buffelli, and Lucio Cinti. Buffelli and the number 11, Mateo Carreras. So those are your backs. And Lucio Cinti and Santiago Chocobares, a rather delicious sounding name, will be the centres. And that's sort of the same lineup there as it was against Wales. And Santiago Carreras will be the fly half, but the change at scrum half sees Gonzalo Bertranu come into the team instead of Thomas Cubelli. And we will find out if Cubelli finds a place on the bench, but in the front row, it will be Thomas Gallo, the captain, Julian Montoya, and Francisco Gomez, who will be packing down at loose head prop, hooker, and tight head prop, respectively. The locks are Guido Petty, Pagadizabal. I'll just have to call him Guido Petty if I don't want to butcher his name. And Thomas Lavanini, the two locks there, along with Juan Martin Gonzalez, Marcos Kremer, that's the blind side and open side flanker, and Facundo Isa, the number 8. So there has actually been one change, not a host of changes as I thought, but just one change with seeing Bertranu coming in at scrum half. And Cubelli doesn't even find a place on the bench, as we will see. Among the subs include the experienced Augustin Creevy as backup hooker, alongside Joel Scavi and Eduardo Bello as the backup props. Matias Alemana will be one of the backup locks, and Rodrigo Bruni will also be expected to replace one of the back row forwards. The backup scrum half is Lautaro Bazan Velez. Nicolas Sanchez, the super sub, who of course scored that magnificent try. He who earned his 100th cap during the tournament is also on the bench. He could be coming on for one of the centres. And Matthias Moroni will be replacing one of the backs. So 2 changes for New Zealand, 1 for Argentina, and we're also going to start by taking a look at the build-up to this particular game, courtesy, of course, of our friends from BBC Sport. And the semi-final will, of course, be kicking off at the Stade de France at 8 p.m. GMT, or British Standard Time, midnight over here in my neck of the woods. And I would say 10 o'clock over in South Africa. And sort of a preview for this story of New Zealand. It's not, according to Andy Ellis, the former New Zealand scrum half, it's not been easy for this New Zealand team back home, but the team has been able to sort of solidify and unite and look at it in a different way. This could be one of the greatest all-back chapters. Whether it will compare to the inaugural win under David Kirk in 1987 or the 2 consecutive wins under Captain Richie McCaw, it'll remain to be seen. They didn't go into the World Cup as the top-ranked side with everyone wrote them off. And now they have a chance to maybe leave a legacy over here, possibly by, as expected, beating Argentina. And they just got back to their work this week, and they were genuine in resetting back to 0, and they have to start again. It doesn't happen easily, and despite having 3 tournament wins, All Blacks and All Black fans have been hurt many times, too many times in the past. And it is confirmed. There are 2 changes to the New Zealand side and 1 change for Argentina. And obviously, New Zealand's journey has seen them recover from a pretty poor start against the hosts France to improve their game and come into the quarterfinals with a great deal of momentum. And they use that momentum and their self-belief to make sure that they overcame the redoubtable Irish team. Argentina also lost their opening game after 27 points, of course, thanks to George Ford kicking them to victory in the absence of Owen Farrell. But they recovered well enough to reach the knockouts and secured that sensational victory in Marseille over the Welsh team. Now, as mentioned, this is Argentina's 3rd final. They lost their 2 previous semi-finals in 2007 in France to South Africa and in 2015 in England to Australia. So will this be their 3rd time lucky back in France? We'll have to see. And their head-to-head record doesn't really make for really good reading. Obviously, New Zealand have won 33 of their 35 games against Argentina, with the Pumas securing 2 wins in more recent times. But in terms of World Cups, their record is a lot more straightforward. New Zealand have 3 wins to Argentina's zilch. And in their most recent game, New Zealand crushed Argentina 41-12. Of course, again, this is a different sort of game, and it's all about how you perform on the day. You only have to be good, better than your opponents on the day, and that is the way it will prove. And at the moment, yep. And of course, as mentioned, Argentina's 2 victories over New Zealand came quite recently, as 2020 and 2022. So that particular match in question was in 2020 was Argentina's first test in about 13 months. And the Pumas led 16-3 at the break and kept New Zealand at bay to secure a magnificent 25-15 win in Sydney. One of the best days in their history, and a potential game to review this week for inspiration, perhaps. Of course, the team are developing itself and developing that belief that winning rugby matches doesn't always need to come by passion or by being an underdog. But they're not going to be short of either, as they are massive underdogs for the game. And of course, that's the beauty of it, because we will see the Argentinians completely empty themselves of all available energy and emotion. I'm not too sure that we will see this Argentinian team emulating their football counterparts by winning the World Cup the way they spectacularly did in Qatar. But it will be nice to see how well they play, and the rain could certainly impact the ability for the All Blacks to play, and it could play into Argentina's hands. We're going to have to see. And of course, the winner of this game will face either South Africa or England in the final. And the big question is, if the Pumas were to beat New Zealand, could it make the winner of South Africa versus England the favourites? Well, there's a long way to go. And Argentina could look to take inspiration from 2019 when England beat New Zealand in the semi-final, and it was a really commanding performance against the All Blacks, the likes of which have not been seen except perhaps by France in the very first game of this tournament. Since then, of course, New Zealand have recovered magnificently, and they will be expected to hold most of the aces coming into this game. Still waiting for Hanno, and it is about half an hour to kick off, and we will be obviously seeing both teams come out to play very soon. We are watching highlights, in fact, of the Ireland-New Zealand game. It's on my television, that is. I can't say we, therefore. And taking a look at how New Zealand were able to physically dominate the Irish and make sure they had the best of the exchanges. Ireland also looking really, really good with the ball moving forward and certainly making the most of their own opportunities. But New Zealand dominating early and very rarely letting go. And as the penalties count started to increase for Ireland, it became a little bit more difficult. And once that highlights package is over, we will be starting with the game. And if Hanno isn't going to be here for the rest of the preview, I hope he will at least join me for the kickoff, and he will certainly look to watch this. And another key player, of course, for New Zealand will be the fullback Beauden Barrett, because as we're seeing in the highlights right now, it was his sharp kicking and ability to find his teammates that was really one of the big differences between how he was able to play. Although Hugo Keenan really did give his best, he just wasn't a match for Barrett in that position. And if we are to select a world 15 from this tournament, Beauden Barrett would definitely be the first name on the list at fullback. And we certainly will have, as part of our preview for the final, we might possibly do an all-star 15. But I will possibly ask the question at halftime to anyone who's in the comments. I mean, sadly, we don't have too many people in the comments right now, but we will obviously look to have a few more joining in. And yeah, if there are any of you who have some ideas, just briefly for now, as to who would make your team of the tournament, by all means, put them in the chat and we will talk about it. And we see right here, R.D. Surveyor, the vice-captain, crossing over for a try. And Ireland, of course, bustling over for a try of their own to take it to 24-25. But then New Zealand went on to score another penalty. And actually, that, of course, what I'm watching now was the penalty try, really. And for that, Cody Taylor ended up being sent to the sin bin, as Aaron Smith had been earlier on. Last 5 minutes of the first half and the first 5 minutes of the second half. And we see right here, Geordie Barrett at centre kicking that game-sealing penalty over. And this was, of course, the last play, that huge multi-phase ruck, which went to about 37 phases before eventually New Zealand were able to hold on for the win. And Wayne Barnes obviously not willing to blow his whistle until that phase of play was over. Bundyaki, of course, born in New Zealand, but playing for Ireland, showing some great ball-carrying skills. Very nearly a knock-on there from Jack Conan, but he was able to get to ground well enough. And then the replacement scrum half, Conor Murray, trying to continue the play. And still halfway between the 22 and the 5-yard line, and still not quite able to get it through. And last phase of the tournament saw the ball get turned over, and that was that. New Zealand secured their place in the semi-final, leaving Andrew Porter looking absolutely distraught. And you can see the devastation on the faces of the Irish players. Johnny Sexton seeing his international career end in really heartbreaking fashion. Sam Whitelock consoling the Irish captain, and Bundiyaki breaking down in tears, but also receiving a great deal of commiserations from his former compatriots. And that, of course, was at the same Stade de France stadium in Saint-Denis. Will we see another cliffhanger this time around? But one thing which I can also say is that in Hanno's absence for now, obviously he's been taking the lead in terms of bringing the Rugby World Cup to all of you, and I never thought I'd be able to watch it, but thanks to Sony Sports over here in India, I've been able to watch coverage of the games, if only the games and not the post-match interviews. Because there is, if you want to watch rugby of all sorts, whether it's international rugby from the Six Nations or even the Lion Series or what have you, or even club rugby, there is a special channel to which we have to subscribe, which isn't really covered by a part of these by these subscription services. You make a separate payment for that if you want to enjoy your rugby. But thankfully, for the World Cup, they've made an exception here, and Sony have decided, you know what, we need to make sure that we enhance our reputation. So for viewers over here in India like myself, we've got the best of both worlds, and we're quite happy. And now we're seeing highlights of the France-South Africa quarterfinal. In some ways, I'd say marginally better than the Ireland-New Zealand game because of how the pendulum kept swinging and swinging and swinging. And France starting brilliantly from the get-go with some good kicking of their own. And it's really the kicking game, of course, which has seen many tries being scored. This time around, as early as the second minute, Kurt Liorenze doing his bit to prevent a certain try there. The number 14 very much being a goalkeeper. We got Daz Reynolds in the chat. Good evening to you, mate. And if you want to know my prediction, New Zealand really have the greater rugby heritage, and I believe they should be able to win. And one of the reasons why they decided to bring Sam Whitelock back into the team instead of Brodie Retallick is for his sheer size. But you do expect Retallick to come on later. So New Zealand should win. And tomorrow, as proud as I am to support the Red Roses and as delighted as I am with the way they've progressed in this tournament, it has to be said that their last two games have seen them really lose their concentration. And against the South African team, which are the defending champions, you simply can't afford to do that. So it should be, if things go to plan or go according to the script, a New Zealand-South Africa final. Both three-time champions. The winner of that match will make history by being the first one to win 4 titles. And it will be a resurgent New Zealand against the defending champions, who, as we see here, were quite under the cosh against the French, who literally were, the front row they had of Mavuka and company were quite simply destroying the South Africans. But this key moment, the intercepted conversion from the 5'7" Cheslin Colby, running in hard and blocking Thomas Ramos's conversion attempt. It was quite simply something that also summed up South Africa's determination to make sure that they were still very much in the game. And it proved to be very crucial indeed, because from a turnover, another kick saw the ball bounce beautifully for Colby, who was able to run into the touchline and run all the way into the end zone and touch down perfectly. And that put South Africa ahead. But then France being France, they found their way back in. And a piece of play there, seeing Eben Etzebeth being sent to the sin bin for head-to-head contact. Antonio there was the tight head prop. And clearly, that wasn't a decision that made the South Africans very happy, because although people talk about Siya Kolisi's leadership qualities, Etzebeth is probably the one who drives the team forward in a very big way, most capped player in the squad. And with the last kick of the half, Thomas Ramos was able to hoof a penalty over, and France went into the half at 22-19. Yeah, so as I said, New Zealand to win tonight, South Africa to win tomorrow. But my heart will always say England. And then from this kickoff, we didn't see Etzebeth scoring his try to put South Africa ahead. And it was effectively the kicking game of both France and South Africa, which came to the fore here. And I think with Beauden Barrett obviously expected to play a major role, that will be very much the case. And a huge sequence of play here with Handré Pollard nailing a huge penalty from almost near the halfway line to put South Africa 4 points ahead. And then we saw France come back with a penalty of their own. And this final phase, the final play, saw France trying their best to try to push through. But then, as we will see very soon, eventually the ball ended up popping loose from Reda Wardi, and Kurt Liorenze, who saved a try in the opening 2 minutes, had the responsibility of kicking it into touch, ending the play, and the hosts were sensationally knocked out by the defending champions. And Etzebeth, of course, who had been sin-binned, came back to score the go-ahead try, and that left the French absolutely distraught and devastated to lose in the quarterfinals of their home World Cup. And so South Africa will be playing England tomorrow. And that will be a game, of course, which comes immediately after the Chelsea-Arsenal game. So in as much as Hanno and I will be looking forward in some respects to seeing Mauricio Pochettino and Mikel Arteta butt heads, our main focus for tomorrow will be South Africa against England. And in case some people don't know, South Africa and England are also going to be locking horns in the cricket tomorrow in the World Cup, with England's tournament very much on the line. If they lose to the Proteas, they are almost as good as done with regard to looking for a semi-final place, especially given how Australia were able to put Pakistan's bowlers to the sword before inexplicably collapsing and then somehow strangling the Pakistani batsmen in their attempt for a World Cup record chase. But for the moment, forget about the football, forget about the cricket. It's all about the rugby. And we will be coming over to live coverage from the Stade de France a few moments from now. And coverage does, of course, start 15 minutes before the beginning of the game. I am still waiting for Hanno to join in, and I'm sure he will. And obviously, we're going to talk a little bit once he gets on about everything that's taking place at the moment. But and of course, the last time the tournament had been played in France was in 2007. Rafael Ibanez and Fabien Golthy were very much a part of that team. And of course, Ibanez being the manager and Golthy being the head coach this time around were a part of this French team. And sadly, this time around, it was heartbreak for them. But we're not long away now, and we're going to find out, obviously, with the toss to take place very soon, who will be, who should we be winning the toss and who will be kicking off and from whose side they'll be starting. But just again, another rundown of the teams. 2 changes for New Zealand. Mark Talea and Sam Whitelock coming back in for Lester Fanganaku and Brody Retallick, respectively. And for Argentina, it is Bertranu at scrum half in for Kubeli. And so confirmation of the quarterfinals: Wales, Ireland, Fiji, and France falling by the wayside. And we see the unmistakable figures of Sam Whitelock and Sam Cane walking in. Sam Cane, of course, the redoubtable captain And Whitelock, of course, his country's most capped player, overtaking the legendary Richie McCaw, and also being the first All Black to earn 150 caps for his national team. Plenty of experience. In fact, this will be Whitelock's 152nd cap tonight, alongside the 67 cap veteran Scott Barrett in the second row, who will be earning cap number 68. And Sam Cane, of course, will be taking part in cap number 94, and he will be expected at the age of 31 to possibly be around for another World Cup cycle. Aaron Smith, of course, will be participating in cap number 124, and he is, of course, 34 years old. This could very well be his last tournament. And some decent experience with Barrett and Ione. The number of caps that these the boys have in the 15 absolutely beggars belief. And of course, the legend himself, Beauden Barrett, taking part in his 122nd cap tonight. He is 32 years old, and he could possibly play a role in the next campaign, but that will remain to be seen. Ian Foster has been subject to more than his fair share of criticism, some of it deserved, of course, but the way he's managed to turn things around, along with Kane and company, has been absolutely magnificent. And now we see the Pumas coming into the team, coming into the stadium, rather. Plenty of experience in Captain Montoya, and also Sanchez and Creevy. And this is going to be cap number 94 for Montoya, the skipper. 29 years old, definitely has one more World Cup in him, unlike Francisco Gomez, the tight head prop, who is 38 years old. Some good experience in the second row as well, among the locks, Guido Petty and Thomas Lavanini. And a pretty impressive looking back row as well, quite young and powerful. Bertranu, of course, comes in for cap number 57 instead of Kubeli, who wasn't even in the squad. Santiago Carreras is alongside him at fly half and will be expected to play a big role. Chocobares and Sinti, quite young, very inexperienced, gaining a few caps themselves. And Boffelli will be playing in cap number 58 tonight, alongside Juan Malia and Mateo Carreras. And the bench, obviously, you've got the experience of Creevy and Sanchez, among others. And the coach is, of course, former Australian coach Michael Schielke, who actually coached Australia to the 2015 final, which they lost to the All Blacks. So a measure of revenge here. We've got the toss right now, so okay, so the news from the toss is that Julian Montoya has won it, and so he's opted to kick off with Sam Cane choosing to go from left to right. And it's quite nice, really, to see how, the toss provides a measure of equanimity in any way, because, of course, that might be the case in football as well, because obviously, if there is a toss, the team that wins gets to kick first. And of course, I'm not too sure whether the choice of half is already decided or whether the other team gets to pick, but we will see. And in cricket, of course, when you win the toss, you get to decide what the team does. The other team just plays along with it. And we see the New Zealanders walking out right now. Sam Cane, Aaron Smith, Beauden Barrett and company. And you can see the focus right now in Sam Cane's eyes, and of course that is Sam Whitelock, who's just come up behind his captain Cane. So the big question is, will Cane be able? And alongside we see Julian Montoya leading his impressive Argentina side out tonight. So won't be long now before the kickoffs, obviously, but there are, of course, about 10 minutes left until the national anthems, and I'm hoping to have Hanno back with us. And sadly, we don't have too many more people in the comments. So thank you very much indeed, Daz, for joining in. And of course, this is the first of the two semi-finals of the Rugby World Cup, all the way from the Stade de France in Paris. And I can just see Lionel Messi and his boys going for a big upset. And well, apparently one of the Argentina players took the liberty of running out onto the team before the rest of his teammates, but I think that's pretty much as controversial as it can get before the start of proceedings. And of course, the teams will be lining up before the anthems. It will be anthem time. So once it's time to start the singing, I will be muting my screen and standing up to hear both the anthems being played. Okay, time to mute the screen. Himno Nacional Argentina and Aotearoa, otherwise, of course, known as God Defend New Zealand. And not long from now, we will be treated to the haka for what will be the penultimate time in this tournament, because win or lose, they will play again, New Zealanders. The only question is, will it be in the summit clash of the final, or will it be in the third and fourth place playoff, the match which no team really wants, but they sort of have to do it. And Aaron Smith leading everything off. It's haka time. Fewer greater sights in World Rugby than the New Zealand haka. And as I've said, whichever team is up against it, they stand together in unison with nothing but respect for it. And Aaron Smith, of course, the vastly experienced scrum half, is the one who leads it all off. And of course, he was a former New Zealand Maori international in 2010, and with his Yeah, he was, of course, as I said, a New Zealand Maori, and he's now been the haka lead in 32 tests for the All Blacks. The old version, of course, was the Kamate version, which I remember hearing growing up, and this newer version is known as the Kapa Opango haka. And we see Beauden Barrett there sort of leading the team in the huddle. Obviously, the official captain is Sam Cane, but one of the best things about rugby is that other leaders do step up. And here is the main man himself, Mr. Trollope. Good evening to you, Boet. How are you doing? I think your mic's still mute, but whenever you're ready to speak, we'll listen to you. And of course, the New Zealand 15. Two changes to that team and one change to the Argentina team. And we will be starting to kick off in a minute. And it is, of course, Argentina, having won the toss, who will kick off proceedings. And New Zealand will be going from left to right, as was the directive of Captain Sam Cane. And the banner is ready just in time, and we will be starting proceedings very soon. Angus Gardner, the referee, Nick Berry, assistant, Carl Dixon, assistant referee, and Ben Whitehouse from Wales and TMO. Dixon, of course, was the assistant referee who stepped up to take charge of the rest of the Wales-Argentina quarterfinal after Jaco Paper got injured. So Argentina will be quite happy to see him very much involved. And it is kicked off, and we're going to see who claims this one. Easy meat and drink for Beauden Barrett, who uses big left foot to send that forward, but only just beyond the halfway line. New Zealand are able to take that. It is Malia who runs with the ball, and we're into a ruck right now and more good passing.
Okay.
Is,
Thank
of
you, man,
course,
for
Sinti,
doing
one of the centres.
Yoda.
Sorry about that, Bert. I do apologise,
Yeah.
but we will speak a little bit about this. But yeah, once again, we see another ruck taking place, and Betrano, who's come in for Kubeli, is now responsible for releasing the ball from every single ruck and also orchestrating the scrum halves. We're into phase 6 right now. It is passed out by the number 5, Lavanini, and Argentina still looking to try to take advantage of a slightly weak New Zealand defence, but which has improved. Certainly no better seen than in the final 2 minutes of their Titanic quarterfinal against the Irish. And Argentina still moving very well. It is Santiago Carreras right now who gets it forward.
On what minute are you, Manny?
It is 1 minute 19, 20, 21.
Okay. Now, I'm just about 20 seconds behind you.
Oh, sorry to hear that, but yeah. So obviously, I will. A nice attempt at a kick forward there, but that is easily gobbled up by Richie Maunga, the fly half, of course. And obviously, New Zealand's ball handling skills are going to be very key. As long as they're able to carry the ball, that will be fine. But just briefly before we continue with the ball deep in New Zealand half, and very soon they are going to look to try to kick it into touch, which I do believe. Yeah, that's Geordie Barrett there who did that, and it's now in touch for a line out. So with the two changes to New Zealand, Whitelock and Talea coming in, and I mean, what I was a bit surprised to see Whitelock coming in because I thought Retallick and some Scott Barrett did a really good job in the second row. Why do you think Ian Foster made that change?
I think it was just about just Brother Retallick put in a lot of hard work in that Irish game, so I think it was just about resting him, getting him away, let him rest his tank, bring on Sam Whitelock, because even bringing on Brody or Retallick from the bench is is like, I mean, it's a bit coming off the bench. It's a cheat code almost at times. Um, as for Mark Tilly, I think, of course, he was left out of the Irish game due to disciplinary reasons, and I think this was just he served the suspension, so he can be up for selection, and they chose him.
Yeah,
So
but very harsh on Lester Fanganaku, who scored New Zealand's first try against the Irish. And that line that was very nearly lost by Argentina with Sam Whitelock rising up and sort of tipping that, but it fell into Argentinian hands. And I'm going to find out what the decision is. At the moment, Montoya is having a talking to with the referee, and I do believe,
yeah,
we see the.
I'm going with New Zealand by 15. I don't know many yours.
Yeah, my prediction is for a New Zealand win, and I think 15 points sounds about right because you know that with this Argentinian team, they are exceptionally strong characters and strong people, but they also move very well indeed. And it is, in fact, an
No.
Argentinian penalty. So we're going to find out. We're not too sure what the infringement is. Maybe you can take a look at that. And it is Emiliano Buffelli, one of the backs, who will be taking this.
Also, they're going to the polls. Um,
So what was the infringement? Was it an offside or what's the story?
I think not rolling away. I think
Yeah.
it's probably. I just saw it quickly.
And
So yeah,
easily converted there by.
don't no. Los Pumas all the way. Los Pumas all the way. 3 points, make that 6. Pierre Crisel, oh, sorry. I believe you are an All Black fan, so good to have you in the chat. Los Pumas all the way. Los Pumas all the way.
Well, you'll be happy to know that they are 3-0 up, and Geordie Barrett passing the ball to his brother Bowden, I think. Once again, 3 Barretts in the New Zealand lineup, and I think it's fair to say that the Barrett family will be barracking for the All Blacks.
Yeah.
And
we'll see what happens.
And obviously, with the Australian coach Michael Schelke leading the team, managing the team quite magnificently, he also, as I mentioned, was the manager of was the coach of the Australian team, which lost to the All Blacks in 2015. So a little revenge might be on the cards for him. Yes.
Yeah, but like I said, I think New Zealand will also be looking for revenge. Because Argentina beat them in New Zealand last year. Though they have played this year, but last year that a big loss. They want to
Yeah.
possibly win that
Right.
and put that result in the past for a
Right.
long, long time.
Yeah.
But if
And so,
Argentina do win this game, it would be the third time they have beaten New Zealand ever in history, and only the first time they have beaten New Zealand at a World Cup. As you said,
yep.
Carreras making a bit of a run.
Yep. And of course, in the three World Cup games that were played between them, New Zealand have won all three of them. So this could be history in the making.
Oh,
But we just saw an amazing run being made there and
yeah.
sort of put to an end. I think
Oh,
Buffelli there
no,
trying to move forward.
Sam Kane.
And
Sure says, come on, the mighty
yeah, and it looks
blacks.
as though I think
Even
the
if,
infringement there was that Buffelli wasn't releasing the ball. So we got some more comments coming in, but I think you can handle them. Yeah.
yeah, I will handle the comments. And that kick not the best. I think it was from my, I think Mongo. So breaks gets the offload and high kicking
Yeah, but
today. Something we saw. The Springboks are really well against France. This one more
yeah,
into the
and
middle.
I did say that Bowden Barrett will have a very big role to play as he receives the ball from Aaron Smith, and it's Geordie Barrett now who gets it and moves forward. I'm sorry, Hanno, I know you're a minute behind me, but and here's Moonga now who opts to pass it instead along the sort of taking a bounce on the ground, and we're going to find out what the infringement is over here because the referee has stopped play. An Australian referee, I do believe, so there won't be any love lost between him and the All Blacks. And Barrett also trying to do well with his kicking, but Buffelli sort of coming in with that and pretty dangerous play over there, sort of bumping into one of the New Zealanders. I think that was Talea, the recalled Talea, who ended up bearing the brunt of that. But also, Buffelli looks a bit winded. And yeah, so I think I was saying that Bowden Barrett would be key. And the big question is, if we were to select a World 11 from players in this tournament, would he be your first choice at fullback?
No. I would put Thomas Ramos.
Really?
From
The
France.
guy who got intercepted by Cheslin Colby? I'm not too sure about that, son.
Nah, look. It happens, but he scored over, I think, close to 60 points for France this whole tournament. And that's mostly off the boot. So, yeah. Expectations. I'm expecting a tough encounter. And I think what we have seen is that, but I think both of us are expecting New Zealand to win. But it will be tight and physical.
Yeah,
Hi,
and
Nipen. Also, happy birthday to you, Nipen.
yeah, happy
So
birthday. He's actually in Bangkok right now, celebrating and having a good time. Why are you still up? I mean, it's past your bedtime, I think. And Whitelock rising high to get a line out, and we go into a huge driving maul forward with Cody Taylor having the ball in his hand. Aaron Smith coming up behind him, hoping to get a chance to release that. And now I think I see why Foster picked Whitelock for this game, because obviously he wanted to use Whitelock's physicality to counter the Argentinians. And we're almost up at the goal line right now. But it's a turnover and Argentina have the ball. But having said that, the referee has stopped play for an infringement, and we're going to find out what the infringement is.
I think I'm seeing the driving ball now coming in from the side. But I think Argentina will gain a lot of confidence from that. That they were able to almost stop it, not fully, but yeah.
Yeah, and the infringement is in at the side. In at the side. So
yeah, they have been given
Geordie
a
Barrett.
warning.
So instead of opting to kick for goal to tie it up, Geordie Barrett opts to send that into touch right at the 5-yard line, and we go again. So it does look as though Retallick could end up starting in the final, especially if Whitelock puts in a very, very big shift tonight, because obviously, Scott Barrett being over there, he's almost, you would say, undroppable. But Whitelock dropping that, and we're still in a huge maul at the moment.
Come on, Los Pumas. I think.
And New Zealand had the ball with Aaron Smith going forward. Sam Cane also coming in. The captain trying to bruise forward.
This attack from if Argentina can stop this attack from New Zealand, they will have.
Yeah, we see the vice captain Surveyor trying to move forward. Shannon Frizzell, and now it's all the way to Will Taylor and Will Jordan rather, who touches. Will Taylor, Jordan. That was awful. Will Jordan crossing over for a fine try. And once again, it's a case of the man being out wide, not being marked. And the New Zealanders are on the board. First try of the game with 11 minutes about to elapse. And
well, that's what to do when you attack just straight out of the book. Suck them in with your forwards and then swing it wide. It was a big night for Richie Mo'unga. He has almost secured his place in the number 10 shirt for New Zealand, but there are also some question marks around it. Good work that Sam Whitelock was able to regather that ball. It would have been something if he did drop it.
And speaking of Mo'unga, he has a chance to kick New Zealand further ahead. So it's his first kick of the match, and we're going to see if he's able to convert this from 5-3 to 7-3, and he does.
Yes.
With no fuss. And so the New Zealanders are on the board. New Zealand 7, Argentina 3, and we are cooking. Of course, I am wearing a black jersey. I'm not supporting the All Blacks per se, but I am predicting a win. And you can see right here the experience and the power coming to the fore. But Sam Whitelock is really a lucky bloke, isn't he?
He's lucky, but you make your own luck. And what a pass by Richie Mo'unga, can we just say, to Will Jordan, to basically just give him a free try.
And Beauden Barrett once again catching that. But the reason why I think Beauden Barrett should really be the World 15 fullback is because in addition to his kicking, he also... obviously, his kicking game has been one of the keys for New Zealand being able to gain some yards and score more than a few tries. He also plays a very big role in making sure that any attempt to try to gain an advantage from a kickoff at centre is sort of nullified. His catching has been squeaky clean.
Yeah. The thing is, if you have a guy like Ramos who can have a 10 that doesn't have to kick to the post. But I think if you want a 10 that kicks to the post, like Mo'unga, that has a pretty good success rate, then you can select
Beauden Barrett.
Yeah, then you can.
Yeah. And Argentina are in
also,
a huge ruck right now. Phase 7. And they could also score a try of their own with the number 4, Petty, out on the wing. Instead, Bertranou sort of passes it back into the center of the field, and it's still going on. Bertranou once again, this time to Malia, the fullback. And Petty once again playing the role of trying to release that to his fellow second row, Lavanini.
Argentina making it evident that they will try and run at New Zealand and try to break gaps, but as we've seen against Ireland, that defense is holding firm.
Indeed, and you have to say that since that first game where they were taken to the cleaners by the hosts, their defense has improved immensely, right?
Definitely.
And now we see a huge piece of play over here with Mo'unga rushing forward, receiving a pass. Aaron Smith now passing it to Beauden Barrett, who ends up sending it out to the vice-captain, Ardy Surveyor. Scott Barrett, Sam Kane, and the recalled Mark Talea has a chance to try to take it forward. Just falls a bit short, but Aaron Smith comes and relieves him. Beauden Barrett, Shannon Frizzell.
Could have used Will Jordan there.
Yep, but Whitelock now all the way out to... and it's starting to look a bit ominous for the Argentinians.
It is. It definitely is.
Already into phase 5, not too far from the 5-yard line. Some very slick passing over there with the big man Whitelock going to ground. And Aaron Smith being able to release that. And certainly the way they've been operating at the Rucks, New Zealand, has been quite exemplary. No real penalties for not releasing or anything of that sort, yes?
Yeah, definitely. They have been better at the Rucks and not conceding silly penalties.
And we see Geordie Barrett coming in, and he crosses over. An attempted tackle ends up pushing him foot beyond the line, and that is New Zealand's second try. So, as we've said, it's looking very ominous. Take it from here. You can see the play and tell us what you think about it.
Just slick handling and Geordie Barrett with the finish. It's in the DNA of the Barretts. They know how to finish, and again, just sacking their defenders. The speed New Zealand play is immense. It's a class above the rest.
Basically, Rieko Ione and Richie Mo'unga, they're combining beautifully, and everyone else contributing. And you've got a wide man out there who finishes off the job. Whitelock to Jordan.
Question could have been dead that at the turnover New Zealand won if the ruck wasn't already formed, but referee Angus Gardner says no. Perfectly legal. So yeah, Justin says New Zealand try get in. All Blacks, no. But there are 7 people in here. So if you haven't already, do smash that like button if you can.
And this conversion is going to be tricky from well out wide, and I do believe Mo'unga has sent that wide. Just missed it, but
he struggled with these type of kicks that's right close to the touchline. And I think again maybe giving them to Geordie could be the answer. Because I think against Ireland, he took one of those kicks and turned out better than Mo'unga did.
Yeah. But we're just taking a look at Mark Talea, obviously coming back into the team instead of Fanganaku. And he's done pretty well so far.
Yeah, look, he's a really good player, Mark Talea. And look, he's probably been one of the best wingers so far.
And it looks as though Argentina have made a change with the number 8. Facundo Issa going off. And it is Rodrigo Bruni who's come on to replace him. So the number 8, the back row forward, is off. And it is number 20, Rodrigo Bruni on.
That's interesting because Facundo has made, I think, the most meters for them, or almost tackles one of them, of those. So yeah, interesting. Maybe he's a bit injured.
Yeah, it could very well be. It could be, as you said, a bit of a blood sort of injury, an injury substitution, which means that Bruni is on momentarily. But if he is forced off, then as you said, Argentina will be at a disadvantage.
And that kick from Monga, I believe, was touched. So no, it wasn't. So it will be attacking Argentina lineout. Do share the stream around if you guys can. And to more people.
Yep, and now we see Argentina going into a wonderful phase, but Gardner putting an end to that, and it might actually be. Looks as though it's going to be a penalty for New Zealand. I'm not too sure what the infringement is. We'll find out. Maybe you can take us through the play and see what went on there.
Yeah, let me see. I think sealing off and then supports his body weight. Maybe I just need to see it again and at the breakdown. But that goal came from the TMO or from the linesman. So 4 penalties conceded from Argentina. They almost bring up a performance like they did
and
against England.
And as we say, we have a lost line out from New Zealand, and that New Zealand, which has been claimed by Argentina. So Argentina now hoping to try to make the most of it, going into a ruck. It is Rodrigo Bruni who takes that ball and releases it and goes to ground himself rather than trying to pass it to a teammate. And Bertranu recovers. A nice high kick, hoping to try to find a teammate. But Mark Talea actually fumbles it. And so it is with the Argentinian number 13, Cinti. And the phase continues. We're into phase 5 right now. And a nice attack down the wing. And New Zealand pretty much almost in some sort of trouble. We are at the New Zealand 22.
Come on, Argentina. Oh, and did not get his hands on it. I think I just caught it there. Oh, Chance Carreras.
And New Zealand end up gaining the turnover. And it is, of course, low, but they lose it back. But Gardner signals a penalty, and it's a penalty against Argentina. So a little bit of hot-bloodedness and naivety creeping into the Pumas game right now. And not releasing. And clearly, Michael Shaker is not really happy with that.
Yeah, clearly not releasing the tackle at the breakdown. If he was still up on his feet and his knee didn't touch the ground, then the penalty wouldn't have been given. But yeah, incorrect decision.
Yep, and that is the third turnover that New Zealand were able to win tonight. And so far, it has to be said that the scoreline might not necessarily reflect their dominance, but so far, New Zealand have clearly had the better of the exchanges. A short line out won by Whitelock. Aaron Smith passing that all the way to Surveyor, the vice-captain. Smith releasing it and opting to send it forward, hoping to find a teammate, but instead Boffelli, the number 14, rises high to get it ahead of his fella number 14, Will Jordan's intentions. And Boffelli can now kick it straight into touch at the halfway line, and he does just that. Actually, he
Of
doesn't do
course.
that because it's reclaimed before it goes into touch. And Beauden Barrett with a nice high kick forward, but also easily claimed by Buffelli, who goes to ground. So, I mean, obviously, when you're watching on the television, you see these kicks being taken. I think the flight deceives me more than anything else. But
No. It did go out, but I played it quickly. You are allowed to do it, but only if you catch it where the ball went out. Um,
thank you very much for the clarification. Like I said, the more I do these streams with you, the more I learn about the rules
that
and
should be a
become better
penalty. Yeah,
informed.
good
It is
penalty.
offside against New Zealand, so it will be a penalty, and it will be the fly half, Santiago Carreras, who will take the responsibility of kicking this into touch. And it is into touch right at the New Zealand 22.
I liked a decent kick from where it was.
Yeah, I think Scott Barrett was the one who sort of came in, and clearly he's not happy with that call, but buck yourself up, Scotty. That's all I can say. Huge line-out, but lost by Argentina. And Aaron Smith is able to pass that to Will Taylor, to Geordie Barrett, who runs forward with that. And Argentina cannot afford to lose these big opportunities with 26 minutes being played.
It's almost like New Zealand are playing almost a flawless game, really. Because they've considered only 2 penalties, and one of them, Argentina have been able to take points. There, probably should be a penalty advantage I tackle there. But
Well,
Smith will.
well, play has been brought forward, so Gardner and the linesman are sort of taking a look at that. I think it was supposed to be Aaron Smith over there with that high kick, and I think it sort of evaded the Argentinians.
Now,
And Smith appealing,
I'm directly
yeah, go ahead.
into touch. So it went directly into touch, but it did get a touch on it.
Right.
So
and apparently
if it didn't get a touch on it, it would have been an Argentina lineup. Because it got attached to it,
right,
directly into touch.
Right. Very simple enough then. Almost like in football, when you get the last touch before it goes into touch, you can see the throw or the line out. And it is, of course, New Zealand line out. Aaron Smith signalling that it did take a touch off the Irish player. Whitelock rising high, and we're into a driving maul. And as I said, this is why Whitelock was picked.
They went back to the original mark. So it did not go directly into touch. I think just miscommunication.
But it was, in fact, a New Zealand line out, and it is Mark Talea now with the ball, trying to weave his way through. Saw a gap and tried to go through, but couldn't quite get there. Smith to Maonga, and Smith once again, this time to Beauden Barrett. Ione with his trademark dreadlocks, bustling forward. Smith again, releasing it to Cody Taylor. Smith again. Geordie Barrett. Maonga. We're already into phase 5. Smith. Scott Barrett goes to ground. Smith again. Captain Kane. Maonga. Frizzell. Will Taylor. No, Will Jordan. Why do I keep doing that, man? Heaven's sake. And New Zealand end up conceding that, and Argentina have the ball, and they go into a series of rucks of their own.
I think if Argentina can keep it like this and maybe gets another score, I think they will be happy.
Certainly they will be happy, but at the moment we're seeing a series of kicks now. Bowden Barrett kicking that beyond the 22-yard line straight to Santiago Canizares, who kicks that high in the air, hoping to find a teammate, but Maunga rising expertly to catch that cleanly, and we're into a New Zealand ruck right now. So you have a point. Obviously, Argentina will look to try to keep the scoreline down, but it's not going to be easy. And is that a knock-on from the captain? Nope. Yes, it is, I think.
Hold on, Mary.
Kane.
I claim that ball in there.
Yeah, but sadly, the captain ended up undoing the good work of his teammate, and Kane not catching that cleanly and sending that forward, and he is absolutely livid with himself.
Well, this gives a chance for Argentina if they can get a penalty to maybe put up points, go to the post. And so, he's been good today. Sam Ken, I've been impressed with him.
Yeah, I suppose that knock-on is probably a bit of a rare blemish. He has, of course, been one of the drivers in the New Zealand attacks that have resulted in both of their tries. Argentina, of course, taking the lead through an early Buffelli penalty, but that's really as good as it's gotten for them so far.
Yeah. It is, definitely. So, yeah. But a forward break always good. Especially if you are Argentina right now. But the thing is, I think New Zealand have been so efficient because they've gone into the turn two of Argentina twice and twice, maybe a bit more, and
Right.
they've scored. Yeah.
Yeah. And we take a look at the pack weights right now. Not much of a difference. 4 kilograms in favor of the All Blacks. So we're going to see, obviously, the scrums playing a bit of a dominant role right now. And I don't know if this is the first scrum of the game. It is the Argentinian scrum half, Gonzalo Bertranu, who will take responsibility. And it looks as though Facundo Issa has recovered from his issue and should be coming back onto the field as we come up to the half-hour mark. And at the moment, Bertranu will lead this scrum. I don't want to see a collapsed scrum with that much of a pack weight, and eventually the ball went through before the scrum could be collapsed, which was a good sight to see. And we'll see if Argentina can make the most of this. The number 20, Bruni, who was, of course, Issa's replacement. And out onto the wing, it is number 11, Mateo Carreras. Goes to ground, released by Bertranu, all the way to Petty. And then still going ahead. Hard to see the Argentinian shirt numbers in this case, but have to make sure that I get it spot on. And that is Santi Carreras, who tries to send that forward, but that invariably ends up going into touch. Obviously, the idea was with the kick, he wanted to try and hope to send it forward and hope the bounce would work in favor of his teammate. And we see Facundo Issa coming back, and it should be Bruni who will be coming off.
Good kick.
And it is.
Once a few meters. I think he will be helping his forward pack and steal the ball at the line out. And the big question when somebody goes off for such thing is, do you bring them back? Because they haven't played now for 20 minutes? Do you only bring him on later? Save his legs a bit more? What's the story?
Well, we're taking a look at the New Zealand line-out. Once again, very well won by Sam Whitelock, who, according to the BBC, has proved an inspired selection by Ian Foster, and that it should be sent into touch at the New Zealand 22-yard line it is. And so to answer your question, you mentioned it yourself. Issa has made many tackles in that number 8 position. Of course, Bruni's come in and done a job. But with Argentina trying to wrestle some sort of an advantage back, I think Michael Shaker has suggested that maybe he needs to have his first choice, number 8, back on the field. Argentina line out, somehow won by the number 7, Kramer, and we go into another maul.
Come on.
Not quite the driving maul, but Argentina come out with the ball in their hand, and they could possibly score. It is Kramer who goes forward. There is no Kramer on the New Zealand team, so there is no Kramer versus Kramer going on over here. And I'll explain that joke in a minute. And Lavanini going forward, going to ground. Bertrand releasing that to Santi Carreras, who skips and moves a bit forward. And this could be trouble for New Zealand if Argentina score. And if Argentina score, try and convert, they will go to within 2 points of the All Blacks. But the defense still holding firm. But Argentina pushing forward, and Issa coming back in, pushing near the goal line. It should be a matter of time before Argentina cross at this rate. Back to Issa, back on the field, of course. And if he's able to score, I think that answers your question. In this case, bringing back Issa was perfectly justified. The number 2, the captain Montoya, does he cross over? No, he doesn't. It's still over, but have the Argentinians lost the ball? Yes, they have, and the chance goes begging. But I do believe Gardner has signaled a penalty. We're going to find out what goes on here.
Let's see. West playing penalty advantage. Knock on? Yeah, knock on there.
And the infringement is that New Zealanders did not roll away. So it is still close to the goal line. So they've decided to take the advantage and go for the try. Because as I said, if they score and convert, they go to within 2. Or with Buffelli having the ball in his hand, I think he's opted to kick. He can't opt to kick for goal at this time in the half, can he? But we see Geordie Barrett over there not being able to roll away in time. I don't know if he was necessarily impeded by Bertrand there, but
Fairly easy 3 points really for him.
Well, this is disappointing because you would think that given how well they played and forcing New Zealand back, they try to take the advantage and go for a potential 7 points. Instead, Buffelli opts for 3, so that reduces the deficit from 9 to 6. And it's this sort of a decision-making that could end up costing Argentina if they're not careful.
But the thing is, I think they're scared they make a mistake or lose the ball at the line-out, and then you miss out on 3 points. Almost.
So what you're saying is play it safe, huh?
Yeah, they're playing it safe right now. Definitely could work in their favor. New Zealand, they have been impressive, but they just played in the air. Both Will Jordan and Carreras. Oh no, not Carreras. The young number 6. Angus Gardner hard on saying need to. Let's see. Yeah, he almost placed him in the air. And I think when you're in that position, if he doesn't catch him in the air there, he's going to fall by himself, and that's almost harder. Just as I said down, Argentina fans. New Zealand still winning, and they could put on some more points.
Yeah, because with that 4 minutes now, we see Sam Cane receiving a pass from Smith, trying to chip it forward, and it's a penalty for New Zealand. We're going to find out what the infringement is there. And off feet, that is the offence.
Yeah, of course you can't be off your feet or let your hand support your body weight. And
that's the 7th penalty that Argentina have conceded. Not a very good look.
For New Zealand, do you go to the post? or do you go to full touch?
I think with Moonga having the ball in his hand, they've opted to go for the points, maybe.
Yeah, 7 penalties is a lot in 1 off. Yeah, it seems like they have gone for the 3 points, cancel out the 3 points Argentina got. Yeah, completely off his feet.
Dead straight for Richie. This should be a very easy 3 points. And it is.
Never know. Maybe miss. But, yeah.
Come on. I mean, I know he's an inferior kicker to Geordie Barrett, but he's not that bad.
Yeah.
And so with about 2 minutes to go, New Zealand are 9 points ahead. And I still firmly believe that Argentina should never have kicked for a goal when they had the chance to go for a try. I think really if they had just been braver, it could have been the difference between being down by 9 and potentially being down by 2. And Argentina now have the ball. It is Gallo, the loose head prop, who has it and moves forward. And Argentina is still going to try and move with the ball very well. And knock on there from, Juan Gonzalez there with another infringement. And this is not really what you want to see from Argentina. A rather fresh-faced lad. And his inexperience is coming to the fore.
So no advantage for a knock on New Zealand. So interesting. There from Mr. Angus Gardner. Yeah. Hello, people in here. Do smash that like button and subscribe button if you aren't already.
And Angus's fellow Aussie Michael Chaker is now about to head into the dressing room, obviously to give his team, obviously to read them the riot act from the looks of it. The penalty count has really not been very good. It will be a New Zealand scrum. It is New Zealand's first scrum of the evening. Aaron Smith, of course, very much at the heart of it, just like he's at the heart of the haka. And I also mentioned that they've adopted a new haka of late. It's called the Kapa Opango, which they've used in this tournament and in previous games. And Smith has led them in 11 versions of that. And the scrum getting collapsed. And New Zealand fans in the stands are loving every minute of it. And I'm pretty certain that if the Irish fans were here, they'd look back and say, if only. If only.
Interesting call there at the scrum, giving it to New Zealand, but I get this point of saying that Argentina will almost going back and couldn't give it there. And New Zealand were just waiting for the contest to come and they fell.
Yeah. But with the clock having saying 40-30, it's a New Zealand line out, and New Zealand have a chance to try and end the first half on a positive note if they can. Ardi Surveyor there, taking the ball and running over. Going to ground, rather. Scott Barrett now going to ground too. Aaron Smith also coming in. Cody Taylor.
Potential try, yeah. On the cards for New Zealand, right on the cusp of
exactly, but again, New Zealand had a similar situation, as we all know, against Ireland, and if this attack doesn't go to plan, that will, of course, be the end of the half. And Talea releasing it to Captain Kane, hoping to make amends for his earlier knock-on. And Aaron Smith now back in, passing it to Scott Barrett, who moves forward into phase 10 right now. Mark Talea. Bursting through the defense quite magnificently is number 11. Doesn't quite cross over, but we're still very much in the New Zealand phase. Should be a try. And it is. Shannon Frizzell crossing over with the very last action of the half. And I'm sure they will be allowed to take the conversion, right?
Yeah. Just really so they went and that's too easy for New
And
Zealand when they
I think it's
entered
fair to say
22.
that, but then take a look at this piece of ball carrying from Talea, also brought back into the team in what looked to be, in my opinion, a very harsh call, but he's justified his selection tonight, as has the big Sam Whitelock. So if you were Eben Etzebeth, I mean, let's assume that the Springboks actually do get the better of the Red Roses as expected and reach the final. If you were Eben Etzebeth, would you sooner come up against Brodie Retallick or Sammy Whitelock?
It's a tough one. it's a real tough one. I think Sam Whitelock is just a bit shorter than Retallick. But look, these
And
they
off the
really
post from Mo'unga, and it doesn't quite go through. And so at half time, the score is New Zealand 20, Argentina 6. And so you got a point. I mean, I did say that Mo'unga wasn't that bad, but you can't simply have a conversion as easy as that and send it off the post. Give Geordie Barrett the ball from now on.
It's easy. That one was easy. Once against the touchline, distance isn't, but angle is tough.
And of course, if it is going to be against the touchline, I'm sure New Zealand wouldn't want to run the risk of a certain Mr. Colby running at Mo'unga and intercepting that ball. Bear in mind, Colby is only 5'7", I'd say marginally shorter than me, and he still was able to intercept that quite brilliantly.
Can't question if it was legal or not. But yeah.
Because in all my years of watching rugby, I don't think I've ever seen a conversion or a penalty attempt being intercepted that way. Now watching highlights of the Wales-Argentina game, and
remember you lost 35-7 to us, so just relax a bit. But yeah, I think New Zealand should go on to win this one.
Yeah, and don't underestimate New Zealand. They lost several games in the build-up to this tournament, and of course they lost their first game. And everybody was saying that Ian Foster would be remembered as a joke, but he's done quite well. Watching highlights now of the Wales-Argentina game, Wales opening the scoring quite brilliantly through, I believe that's Dan Bigger over there, who crossed over in what proved to be his final international for Wales. Everything hinged on the play, which saw the young Sam Costello not really put enough heft into his pass, and Nicolas Sanchez saying, "Muchas gracias, Gio," and taking that to score an intercepted try, which pretty much ended Wales's campaign. But taking a look at the first half, obviously, I did mention that Talea and Whitelock have proven to be inspired substitutions, and obviously Beauden Barrett has done his job at fullback. Who else has, and of course Mo'unga goes without saying, has been impressive on the field, even if his kicking has not been quite up to scratch. But who else has caught your eye from the New Zealand team?
I think Mark Talia.
Yep, mentioned.
Stand out. And I think probably Adi Sophia has been really good at the breakdowns. And then from backline's perspective, I reckon Aaron Smith has been in the thick of things. But yeah.
Aaron Smith is a quality player. Absolute quality. And Of course, world champion in 2015. He'll be hoping to add a second title to his resume. And just taking a look at this Wales game, they were 10-0 up at the middle of the first half, 10-6 at half-time. And how they could have lost from there, this will go down as an absolute tragedy. But in the second half, Boffelli kicking them to within one. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just quickly going to grab me a drink, then I will be back for the second half.
By all means do so. By all means do so. Looking forward to having you back. And
if you need to grab a drink or two,
that's all right. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Thank you very much indeed. And Boffelli right here with a huge penalty, kicking Argentina into the lead quite brilliantly. And that was when alarm bells started to ring in the Wales camp. And maybe they started to sense that an upset was on the cards. Of course, Wales, showing what they were made of, coming back fairly strongly. And surviving a knock-on attempt there. And number 21 running through to score a brilliant try in the centre, which put Wales up 17-12, I believe. But then Argentina managed to reply. And this is, of course, the moment which won it for Argentina. Nicolas Sanchez intercepting a very weak Sam Costello pass and touching down dead centre. And Argentina going up 7 points with barely minutes left. And that was the moment when Welsh dreams died. Dangerously close to the post there when he touched down. And fortunately, the experienced Sanchez ended up avoiding serious injury. And with the last kick of the game, Argentina sealing a magnificent win, 29-17. And you could see how much it meant to the Argentinians to reach a third semi-final. For Wales, it's yet again heartbreak. Wales have never reached a World Cup final. They too have been semi-finalists, I want to say 3 times. And the fourth one was just not to be. So, obviously, Hanno is off screen, and I will take a look at a couple more comments that have just come in. New Zealand just too good for Argentina. No better team than the Blacks. Ooh, hard to say. I think the Springboks have proven over the years that they are a very fine team. And obviously, there have been gaps between their 3 World Cup wins. And possibly talk of South Africa beating New Zealand in the final. But look, South Africa still have to play England. And 4 years ago, a certain New Zealand team were favourites to reach the final, but England, under Eddie Jones, shocked the All Blacks to reach the finals themselves, only to end up losing to the Rassie Erasmus-inspired Springboks, captained, of course, by Siya Kolisi. More advertisements, of course, for the Saudi League. Not really interested in that stuff, to be honest. Again, they say where the king goes, the rest follow. Karim Benzema, Steven Gerrard, Henderson, Neymar, Mane, Kante, and a few others. And obviously there will be a few more highlights, of course. The Ireland-South Africa game is next. And the answer to this question, Chelsea fan, is absolutely. It's some of the rugby has been outstanding. And of course, we see South Africa having their first defeat inflicted on them in the tournament, with Ireland, of course, taking advantage of this brilliant piece of attacking play. Mac the Knife crossing over for a brilliant try to put Ireland 7-3 ahead. And Faf de Klerk winning the scrum, and South Africa scoring a try of their own. And who else but Cheslin Colby to touchdown for the Springboks. And that put them 8-7 ahead, with the conversion not being nailed. But a scrum penalty won by Ireland. The scrum collapsed. And Ireland kicking for goal, going ahead 10-8. Johnny Sexton there, nerves of steel. And Jameson Gibson Park leading the scrum, going into a maul of all things, and the penalty being awarded. Scrum being destroyed there. But Manny Libak sending that penalty wide. So a missed chance to take back the lead, and would that prove costly? Yes, it would. Ireland kicking themselves 13-8 ahead. And that is the way it would stay. But of course, all immaterial. South Africa with a driving maul, hoping to go through and secure a try of their own, but falling just short. Just watching highlights of the Ireland-South Africa match. Ireland beating the Springboks, but of course the Springboks are in the semi-finals, and the Irish are on their way home. So now we've obviously spoken about the first half, but in the second half, of course, as you know, that is when the bench comes to the fore. So I take a look at Argentina's bench. We've already seen Rodrigo Bruni come on, and it goes without saying that Nicolas Sanchez will definitely have a role to play. I don't think we'll see Augustin Creevy coming on until maybe near the end if Montoya needs a rest. But among the bench, who else do you think could possibly make some sort of a difference for Argentina as we take a look at the subs right now?
Alemano. He's a big, strong guy. Moroni. He's got some pace about him. I know that, Moroni. So I think look at those two probably. Lemano and Moroni to make an impact off the bench.
We haven't really seen too much action in the Argentina scrum. So they could very well be, Sclavi and Bello coming on to replace Gallo and Gomez later on. And with the New Zealand bench, obviously, they've got quality almost everywhere with Tamati Williams, Brodie Retallick, Finlay Christie, the backup scrum half, and, of course, Dalton Papali'i, followed by Damien McKenzie, of course, who's played his part in this tournament, and, of course, Anton Leonard Brown. Fletcher Newell, of course, is a backup prop, and Samisoni Taukeaho is the backup hookup. So obviously, Retallick might come on to replace a tiring Whitelock. Christie could come on to replace Smith. We should certainly see someone like a Damien McKenzie coming in to provide relief to either Ione or Geordie Barrett, perhaps, but Mo'unga might actually come off to be replaced by Papali, and then Geordie Barrett might take the kicks. What do you think could be the case for the New Zealanders?
I think Anton Brown will probably come on for Rico Ioane. Papalili will also come on to boost that to boost the forwards. Retallick also, and McKenzie. I don't think he will come on really, unless they need a game changer. don't think it will come on. I think they have enough in Barrett. Unless the game is gone for Argentina, I think they will bring him then on. But yeah.
Okay, and so we are just about to kick off, and it will, of course, be New Zealand to start proceedings, with Argentina having already kicked off at the very beginning. So, last 45 minutes of this semi-final, and of course, both teams will stay on either to play the third and fourth place playoff or the final. And it is all the more looking likely that New Zealand will secure their spot, and unless Michael Chaker has got something up his sleeve, I think Ian Foster might end up the happier of the two chappies. Sam Cane having shed a bit of blood there, having a chat with Scotty Barrett. Aaron Smith also getting into the action. Argentina have certainly moved well with the ball, but they've been very unfortunate in terms of their mistakes.
And the thing is, on Argentina, they've made more meters than New Zealand, but they haven't been efficient when they've made the meters.
Yes.
If you look at New Zealand, they haven't made so many meters, but they've been efficient when they have made meters.
Yep.
And that's the thing. You can see the
kickoff from Bowden Barrett over there, and New Zealand do have the ball, but Ethan de Groot completely missing it. Fortunately, though, New Zealand get it back, but there is a penalty. I believe it looks as though going to find out what the issue is, and well, once again, it is the number 6 Gonzalez completely losing it. And it is, in fact, Alemano who's on to replace Lavanini. So we already see one of those subs you've suggested coming on. And obviously, I think Lavanini might be a little bit tired, and possibly he might have been outplayed in the half. We've got a scrum going on over here, so everyone's packing down quite nicely.
Yeah. And the thing is, even if you attack so much, like try and gain meters against a defensive line like the All Blacks, almost like the Irish too, it drains a lot out of your battery because you need to commit 2-3 people at the ruck. But from a defensive point of view, you only really commit 1 or 2.
And yeah, interesting scrum over there with excellent dummy by Aaron Smith, and he crosses over for a try all the way from the scrum. So what happened here, Hannah, was that Smith was obviously trying to get the ball, but it was inexplicably being kicked back in. Ardi Surveyor ended up releasing the ball eventually and getting it to Smith, who was able to weave his way through, sold the Argentinian team a few dummies, and crossed over quite brilliantly for a try. What a quality player he is. Take a look at this play, and you can see for yourself just how good it was.
Oh, dirty stuff from Aaron Smith. Great player, great try. And New Zealand are through to the final. I think that's that. New Zealand through to the final. Yeah.
I love the way you said it, dirty stuff there. And he had the good sense to make sure that he kept the ball close to his chest as he rolled over, so he didn't quite touch down. Now, Mo'unga again with a conversion, not from quite out wide, but it is still not a very easy one. And this could be possibly something that either South Africa or England might look to target, because, you know, easily done by Mo'unga, and New Zealand are now 21 points ahead. Is it even worth watching now that it's more or less curtains? And look, Aaron, it's still not over until the fat lady sings. And Hannah, I'm going to let you answer that question. Do you genuinely see your team stopping the Kiwis from winning it in the final?
Well, we did beat them pre-tournament. both of us have our success. It would be the first time we are facing off in a final. Yeah, faced off in a semi-final.
Now, if memory serves me right, in 1995, Francois Pienaar led the Springboks to victory, and it was, of course, against a New Zealand side that was inspired by Jonah Lomu.
Don't we
Lomu,
play
of course.
1990 World Cup final?
1995, yes, that's what I said. So,
Yeah,
of course,
but,
an abiding,
yeah, it was
an
the
abiding
sorry,
memory, an abiding memory, of course, is seeing the late great man receiving the ball and trampling over the South African-born Mike Catt as if he were nothing but a carpet. And England was simply outclassed that day, and they came back into it in the second half. But by then, the damage had been done. But your team that day, if you were able to take a look at archives from that match, they certainly had an excellent plan for keeping Lomu quiet. And of course, Joel Stransky, of course, kicking like a dream. And the players in your squad back then, I believe Os Durant, Joost van der Westhuizen, Butch James and several others. And not Butch James, I think James Small was a part of that team. If you ask your dad about that, he will have nothing but the best things to say about that team that day.
Yeah, definitely. And look, I think it is probably I thought we faced a France or an England team. Well, All Blacks second time. Well, we have once beaten them once in the final, so 1 or 2. But I think they will be coming for revenge. I think we need to improve our defense, definitely. But first, we must beat England. Let's not underestimate them. Everyone thinking we are favourites.
Yeah, but a possible Argentinian try here, but that is stopped in its tracks by Gardner. I believe the ball might have gone out of play. Facundo Issa there making some excellent yardage, but Aaron Smith with the tackle. And I think a knock-on was the call, maybe. But in any case, it went into touch, so it will be New Zealand line-out. So, yeah, do get to watch highlights of that 95 final when you can, and maybe you can take some notes on that, maybe.
And we see there that when they almost scored a try, it was unbroken play, unstructured, and that's what they are good at. Argentina, yeah. Big Facundo Issa stepping out into touch, but they're so good when it's unstructured play, and I think almost that is why they beat Wales. At last 20 minutes, it was just complete shambles.
Yep.
So just chaos
and Mo'unga sidestepping the defense magnificently, getting it to Cody Taylor. Very close to the Argentinian 5-yard line. Requeione going forward, already into phase 5. And you said it perfectly. It's the efficiency of New Zealanders that has made the difference so far. And Frizzell all the way out to Geordie Barrett, who goes close, but not quite close enough. Ardie Savea, does he cross over? Nope, stopped in his tracks, but New Zealand have to release the ball. And eventually it's Frizzell who releases it all the way to, I believe that's Simon Barrett, the number 5. No, it's not Simon Barrett. But it is Ardie Savea, the number 8. Has another chance to cross over and is still stopped in his tracks. Released once again by Smith. All the way to Lomax. And does Lomax cross over? No, he doesn't. All the way out. Bowden Barrett trying to go for the glory, but he's stopped in his tracks. Aaron Smith again trying to repeat his heroics of a few minutes earlier. It is with Mark Talea now. Bruising Mark Talea, busting forward, not quite going far enough. But this time the Argentina defense holding firm quite magnificently. And it is, of course, Ethan de Groot now who tries to go forward, but the ball is still not being released. Now it should be released, and Savea is, of course, standing over that. Frizzell all the way to... it is with Lomax now.
On Bowden.
Yep. But they have crossed over now. And after 18 phases, that is. Actually, they haven't, have they? Yes, they have. The try's been awarded.
Let's see who scored this. Hopefully it's Rico.
It's
Oh, no.
Frizzell, the number 6. Bursting past Issa there. I don't know if he was able to ground the ball effectively because there were a selection of Argentinian hands. But once again, we see Maunga there sidestepping the Argentinian defense quite magnificently. And maybe if the passing had been a little bit cleaner, they would have scored a lot more quickly. But credit to the Argentinian defense for holding out for as long as they did. And you've said it perfectly. It's New Zealand efficiency. And this is the type of play that the winner of tomorrow's semi-final will have to face, really.
Yeah, and it is very scary. So we'll see. Of course, tomorrow is the Cricket World Cup and the Rugby World Cup for the first time, where South Africa face England in both World Cups. Hopefully, we get on top of you both times. So trying to sort out a way to do the cricket. So yeah.
Yep, and we see the ball actually being crossed over, and poor Facundo Issa there, bloodied shirt and all, not looking very happy, but a huge beaming smile from Aaron Smith, mouth guard and everything. So 50 minutes up, New Zealand 34, Argentina 6. And although Aaron will say that this game is pretty much done and dusted, there are still some minutes to be played. And we see Gomez and Bertranu making way for Eduardo Bello and Lautaro Bazan Velez, respectively. So the backup tight head prop and the backup scrum half are on the field. And the backup New Zealand hooker is on, Samisoni Taukeaho, and he replaces Cody Taylor. And Argentina now trying to gain a bit of respectability. Belas Valles there with the pass out. And some good work there, but that looks like a knock-on, and it is. Just poor handling, really, from Argentina.
For me, it's again, it seems to struggle against this big size. England and New Zealand, they just concede too many penalties. It'd definitely be interesting to listen to the press conference of Michael Checker. But let's not give give anything away from New Zealand. They've been superb, but Argentina just been poor. I think the standard of the rugby will definitely be better in that final if we face the All Blacks. And even in that South African England game, I suspect it will just be a better game in general, really.
Yeah. Because obviously I was saying that, Chelsea Arsenal also taking place tomorrow, but I think it's fair to say that for the both of us, country comes first before football team. And don't get me wrong, I will probably keep an eye on the game if I can. But we will obviously be looking to do a preview for that South Africa-England game where we will be talking about the possibility of because England, of course, will have made some changes to their team for the semi, and we're going to talk about that, obviously. And South Africa, of course, will be unchanged, which might be the better decision. But a lot of things will be there to talk about. 8 line breaks for New Zealand as we go into a New Zealand scrum. So,
yeah, but I don't know when I will do the cricket show.
What did you say?
The cricket show. I wanted to do it more, but because Chelsea are playing like that time, it's hard. The football ends at 6. I'd make it straight after the football. Half an hour stream. Run quickly through it.
Yeah, but Bowden Barrett now releasing it to Will Jordan, who runs all the way beyond the halfway line. And some very slick and quick running from the All Blacks. But have they given up the ball? Yes, they have. Actually, I
think if the All Blacks get to now try, I wouldn't be surprised if they ring some substitutions. There's a few
as you've said,
big guys.
someone like Damien McKenzie can definitely come on. Yes.
Yeah, I think now Mackenzie can come on because they have that strong enough lead.
5 tries to to Argentina's none tells the whole story, doesn't it?
It does. It definitely does.
And I think I have to. Sorry, but what did you say?
No, just be up to someone that gave us a sub. So yeah, but yeah, you were saying.
So yeah, I'll come to that in a minute. And we've got a New Zealand lineup with Taukei'aho having his first action of the match, and it's a long line out, which is won by Scotty Barrett, and we enter into a huge maul with New Zealand once again showing great speed and being able to drive that forward. Aaron Smith now passing it out. Geordie Barrett to Mark Talea, rather. And there's, Ardi Surveyor being pushed back, in fact, but New Zealand should still have the ball. And it is released. Smith to Taukei'aho, who goes to ground. Smith once again to Talea. This time he's been pushed back a little bit. We're into phase 5 already, but Captain Kane has the ball. And Taukei'aho again with the ball going to ground. Smith once again releasing it. And Bonga. Geordie Barrett to Ione. Ione being pushed back by the Argentinians, but the New Zealanders still have the ball. Smith to Surveyor.
Really, it's getting quite boring right now.
I mean, come on, listen. I mean, even no matter how the scoreline is, you obviously want to see a good display of rugby. And
yeah, but it's not even a good display of rugby. It's just the All Blacks dominating. Rakayani, he has definitely had a disappointing tournament. I'm really surprised I haven't saw Anton Brown and Moore with with a Geordie, definitely. I'm surprised about that.
I think a bit harsh on Ione there. I think, in the knockout stages, he's proven to be also quite effective. He might not have had much in terms of dominating the play, but he has played his part. I mean, obviously, you wouldn't want to change a winning team, and dropping Ione at this stage would be quite harsh, perhaps.
Yeah, at this stage, yeah, probably.
Was that a knock on there from Ethan de Groot? No, it wasn't. But a huge pass forward, and is that claimed by Will Jordan? It is claimed and taken into touch after the 16th phase, but I wonder if they've signaled for the knock on there from de Groot. No, there is no knock on. Everyone's going all the way to the touchline. And now we see 17, 18, 21, and 22 off the bench. Williams, Newell, Christie, and Mackenzie. Christie replacing Aaron Smith, Mackenzie replacing Bowden Barrett. So 2 of their most capped players already off. And Aaron Smith taking a huge and well-deserved break with the match, at least from the looks of it, already in the bag.
Yeah.
And of course, Tanasi Williams on for Ethan de Groot. That was his last action of the game. And Fletcher Newell coming on to replace Tyrell Lomax. So we have an Argentina scrum think that might perhaps have been for the knock-on, maybe. So it is going to be taken by Lautaro Bazan Velez, the backup scrum half. And the scrum being pushed forward, but Argentina have the ball and they try to run forward with it. And a bursting run there from Mateo Carreras going through the defense. I mean, going through the New Zealand forward line, gaining some yardage. And huge kick forward. Played brilliantly by the number 14, Boffelli. And Santi Carreras coming in there. This is probably New Zealand's best phase of the game, I would say. Never mind the half. And pushing forward very well indeed is the number 18, Bello, the replacement tight head prop. And it is an Argentina penalty. And I know in theory the game may be lost offside against New Zealand, but are they going to kick for goal, or do they for once decide to go for broke and at least get a try?
I think you have to go for a try.
And Santi Carreras agrees, sending that all the way into touch at the 5-yard line. But beautiful piece of play here, really. Mateo Carreras with that amazing run. And Kramer there. Huge pass, claimed beautifully indeed by Boffelli. And Carreras also gaining some yardage there. No, that wasn't Carreras. That was actually the fullback, Malia, who was able to run with that beautifully. But an Argentina line out, we could see them score. Maul would see the Argentinians being pushed back a little bit, but Montoya has the ball in his hand, and he tries to move away. And it is now with Kramer. Marcos Kramer, that is. Once again, Bazan Velez releasing the ball and trying to send Argentina forward, but New Zealand pushing them back. It is with Montoya, the captain. And play shifting right now to the wing, and Bazan Velez still very much a part of that. Marcos Kramer also, with his distinctive beard, trying to push the team forward and almost succeeding. Gallo there with the ball, trying to take it forward, brought to ground. Bazan Velez again not quite able to release the ball, and it's a knock-on, I think. And once again, we see all that endeavour, huffing and puffing, but not quite able to blow the New Zealand house down.
All I can say is, whoever wins this World Cup between New Zealand, South Africa, or England, wow, they're going to have to deserve it, especially if it is between South Africa and New Zealand. This New Zealand defense is absolutely fantastic.
And it's hard to believe that they looked so far off the pace against France in the opening game, but they've recovered quite magnificently. But having said that, they did benefit from having a pretty easy pool, it must be said. Finlay Christie, of course, the Scottish-born scrum half. And that means for Scotland fans, there will be one Scotsman in the World Cup final. And Damien McKenzie also on the field, hoping to do whatever he can to try and impress Ian Foster to be eligible for selection. But New Zealand, of course, bursting from that scrum with purpose, and big Sam Whitelock going to ground. Christie to Maunga, and Christie once again getting the ball to, this time it goes to Talea via Geordie Barrett.
So 20 minutes left. Can you chance? Hello? The line, and I think tomorrow we'll go half an hour. Just at this time between that awesome Chelsea game. Yeah.
Right,
Maybe
so
20 minutes. Because the game usually ends around what, 15 minutes past 7. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's in
I
a
think that.
2 hour gap, so there is more than enough time. And we see a change. It is Brody Retallick coming on for Sammy Whitelock, who's had a fine game, and we see Leonard Brown coming on for Ione. And I did remember saying that dropping Ione at this stage would be harsh, but if Leonard Brown does enough to impress, then that could possibly lead to a conundrum. We'll have to see.
Um,
But Retallick coming on
uh,
should be expected to add a bit of freshness to the second row. You were saying?
the ref for the final will probably confirmed Tuesday or Monday. Who will it be?
I'm going to put my money on Wayne Barnes refereeing it if it's a New Zealand South Africa final. But how is
Yeah,
Mr. Paper, by the way? Is he better?
I honestly I don't know. I think it should be.
And Christie passing it out to Mounga, very close to the Argentinian 5-yard line. Christie now releasing it to Retallick, who's just come on to
Yeah, it's been sensational.
Taukeaho. And Williams now bursting forward. Still in the ninth phase. Christie out to Mackenzie, who gets it to Talea. Tries to sidestep to defense, but is caught by Buffelli and company. Stopped in his tracks. But Christie releases it to Jordan. And that is New Zealand's 6th try of the game. And with the bench coming to the fore, you've got to say that that is now the match done and dusted. It's been completely one-sided, hasn't it?
And it has been. Would Wales have done any better?
No, absolutely
I
not.
wouldn't.
I think they just. I mean, Warren Gatland made the decision to go with a younger squad, almost similar to what Eddie Jones did with Australia, and it backfired spectacularly. It just goes to show that when it comes to big tournaments like this, you need more and more experienced heads. And we saw that when Wales lost to Argentina, with Costello's pass being intercepted by the experienced Nicolas Sanchez, who had, of course, earned his 100th cap during the tournament. And now, of course, with Australia going home very early, not even making the quarterfinals, it just puts everything into perspective. You can't drop the likes of Michael Hooper and Quade Cooper and expect to do good things in the tournament. You just don't. And Mounga once again sends this wide, and it's time for him to go off and give Geordie Barrett a chance to kick. And I think, yeah, that was a pretty poor conversion attempt there from Mounga.
Yeah, I think the kicks like right close to the touchline. I think it shows of them. When it's a kickable kick, give it to Monga, but such kick, Geordie.
Yep. So Foster will definitely be taking notes. I mean, with about 16 minutes to go, the game is already done and dusted, it has to be said. And Mackenzie trying to intercept there, but not quite able to do so. And we do see Rodrigo Bruni and Augustin Creevy coming on. And Moroni also comes on. Matthias Moroni there, replacing, I believe, Chocobares. Creevy coming on, the most capped player in the Argentinian squad, coming on for his captain, Montoya. And finally, Bruni coming back onto the field to replace Facundo Issa, who has had a fine game for Argentina, but has clearly run his race. Chip kick forward, hoping to... I mean, that was, of course, Will Taylor hoping to cause more damage, but Argentina claiming that back. But... this has been a fine tournament from an Argentinian perspective, but against New Zealand, they've just come up short. Malia there with a little piece of rugby, but sort of trying to sell a dummy, but it is going to be another New Zealand penalty. And you can definitely see the relative lack of experience in Argentina's front row, for example, really sort of proving itself there. And Captain Kane goes off to be replaced by Dalton Papali. So that's all of the replacements for New Zealand now on the bench. I mean, on the field. And Santiago Carreras has run his race. He will be replaced by the match winner from the quarterfinal, Nicolas Sanchez. But we've gone to the TMO office. What's going on over here?
Let's see. Let me see. I think potential foul play. I'm just going to.
Yeah, sort of knocking the ball away from Bazan Velez's hands there, and Scott Barrett goes straight.
Could be a
yeah. So Scott Barrett gets sent to the sin bin for 10 minutes. Not too sure why he felt the need to do that, really. And bit of a disappointing thing to see New Zealand once again down to 14 men. But of course, they were down to 14 men twice against Ireland and still went on to win. This game is pretty much wrapped up.
Yeah, it pretty much is.
Augustin Creevy, the gnarled veteran, coming on for his captain. Short line out, and we're into a maul with Argentina pushing forward quite well. Creevy with the ball in his hand. Bazan Velez trying to release the ball and eventually does, and a nice hook kick high into the air, easily claimed by Maunga, who apart from his kicking has once again been outstanding, especially with his running and his overall moves. A huge kick in the air, hoping to be claimed, bounces kindly for New Zealand, and it is in fact claimed by New Zealand. But there will be an Argentina penalty. Find out why. And that is kicked into touch right at the New Zealand 22. So, hoping now to make the most of this chance they might get, maybe.
Yeah, come on. I just need a try from Argentina. Right. I definitely expected more from them. They have definitely not been not 10 up really. It reminds me of that England performance they did in the first stage. First
in the pool stage, yes?
First game of the tournament.
And once again, the pass goes completely wrong, and New Zealand reclaim the ball. And you can see it's a combination of nerves, inexperienced, and basically everything that could go wrong has gone wrong for the Argentinians. Finlay Christie hooking that into touch right at the halfway line. So it will be an Argentina line-out, and it actually is taking place between the halfway line and the New Zealand 22. So Argentina might gain some yardage and possibly go for a consolation try themselves, and they are able to burst forward very well. Bazan Velez passing the ball out to Nicolas Sanchez, of course, who, as I mentioned, was the match winner against Argentina with that brilliant intercepted try. Bruni now passing it out.
Races finals, here we come. Should I All Black fan? Who would you rather face? Springboks or England? In
And
the final.
that clearly should be a knock-on by Argentina. And once again, it goes begging. Mo'unga kicking it forward. And Boffelli responding with a huge kick into touch. And you can see right now that the Argentinians are still not able to take advantage of the fact that New Zealand are down to 14 men. So you can see really that they've just been outthought today as well. And Retallick losing that line out, but Argentina still able to reclaim the ball. You were saying, Hannah?
They just a bit basic on attack, Argentina, like almost like Ireland were in the later stages against New Zealand. Like, no kick, no nothing. First it is football on go. And it is Rotherham United against Ipswich, as I believe it's 0-0 still in that game. So, well, I could say a draw. So, I will be getting points there. Knock on. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's definitely been a great game if you are an All Black fan.
If you're an Argentina fan, you've just had a lesson in how to approach a World Cup semi-final. Their third semi-final, they've done brilliantly to get this far, but sooner or later, expectations are going to increase.
Oh, it got called off. Fair enough, that's why. It's still no. Fair enough, okay. Didn't know that.
And Christie trying to kick that forward, and that does
Could be one
touch.
of many games that will be postponed this weekend due to the weather in the UK. Luckily, that ball came out for Argentina at that scrum, because, boy, it was looking bleak for them there.
Yep. And a huge kick forward. Caught at the touchline, but unable. Well, they do actually continue play, as you've said, and it is Christie now, the ginger-haired Christie with the ball in his hand, trying to run at the defense, and he's brought to ground. Released. Mackenzie kicking it forward, but Sanchez saying thank you. Actually, not Sanchez. That is Moroni who says thank you very much indeed. And he kicks it forward by himself, and that ends up going all the way into touch.
Yeah. This reminds me of something I need to do, my FPL. While I'm thinking about the Premier League.
Possible try alert now. Will Taylor kicking it forward. A hat-trick of tries for the back, and he gets that easily enough. This has been an absolute rout. taking advantage of some holes in the Argentina defense, chipping that forward quite expertly, and bundling over for his third try of the game. Hat-trick of tries for Jordan, rather, I should say. Will Jordan with a hat-trick of tries.
It's a great run by Will Jordan. And then the kick even better.
Yeah, but you see the huge gaps in the Argentina defense, and obviously he made the decision to...
One of the best tries in a while that I have seen.
Yep, and he was able to sort of get the better of Buffelli there. You see that's the example of how a well-executed kick can really leave defenses in their wake. And this kicking game will obviously be key, and we will discuss this at a later stage. But this has been an absolute rout, must be said. And that's 7 tries for the New Zealanders.
Just awful.
But once again, Mo'unga's kicking lets him down. I mean, this is something he's really going to have to improve, and I think Ian Foster will have to make a decision that, we can't afford to have these misses against whoever we face in the final. So Geordie will have to take the kicks, simple as that. But that try from Will Jordan and the earlier try from Aaron Smith at the beginning of the second half, those are 2 tries you could just watch over and over again, eh?
Definitely. 2 sensational tries. And look, they are back at it. Really. And I wonder what's the biggest semi-final score difference, because this has to be up there.
Yeah, and a lost line-out for Argentina sees New Zealand claim the ball. And once again, could we see an 8th try tonight? But Argentina very nearly intercepting that, but eventually it's still back with Mark Talea, who's had a fine game tonight. And Papali and Taukei'aho trying to come in. And Mo'unga with a chip kick forward. But Argentina reclaimed that and could try and run at the defense. I'm not sure Ian Foster will be happy if Argentina were to score a try this late on in the game, but we will take a look and see what happens here. The attempted kick forward goes out. And not too sure why Scott Barrett hasn't come back onto the field yet. His suspension is over. Maybe they wanted to let the play continue.
Yeah, play first stop.
Yeah.
Play as first stop and then... Oh, what they can do is keep it like that or send a sub on.
Yep. And Scott Barrett is still on the bench. And I think it could very well be that he has, in fact, been replaced. I just don't know by whom. Or by who. But Argentina once again trying to make something happen. And it is Buffelli with the ball who can try and run. Actually ends up passing it all the way to Mateo Carreras, who goes to ground. Bazan Velez there taking the ball forward. Nicolas Sanchez. And Eduardo Bello going to ground. And now Marcos Kremer, of course, trying to go forward, but also going to ground. Bazan Velez again releasing it. Into the fifth phase already, but another drop ball, and that will be considered a knock-on.
Take it, Josh.
And Argentina takes that kick quite quickly, but that really shouldn't trouble the Argentinians that much, and that is allowed to go all the way into touch. And we see an injury here. Nicolas Sanchez on the ground, clasping his shoulder or his deltoid muscle from the looks of it. Some very dangerous play there from Jordi Barrett. Pretty much running into him like a train, hitting the buffers and sending Sanchez tumbling. And that won't necessarily count as foul play, but certainly a very painful way for Nicolas Sanchez's game to end, and he has been one of their standout players. Line out taken. Straight into a maul. New Zealand hoping for an eighth try, and it is released all the way to Christie, who gets it to Jordi Barrett, to Damien McKenzie. Richie Mo'unga wants to go for the glory, but is stopped in his tracks. Christie will release it all the way to Tauke Aho. Also pretty much impeded from crossing over. But Christie's on hand to receive the ball. However, Gardner signals a knock-on, and that is the end of that attack, and that should very well be the end of the game. I think Hanno's just gone off momentarily, and it will be a New Zealand scrum. Actually, it is going to be an Argentina scrum, and this will probably be the last piece of play for the entire game. I really don't see New Zealand scoring from here unless they get an interception, so I think it is fair to say that the full-time score will be as is. New Zealand 44, Argentina 6. And this piece of play, of course, will be allowed to continue until and unless there is, in fact, a turnover. Can't see Argentina scoring, though, and we are into the next phase of the ruck, but this should be the last phase of it. And a nice kick forward from Sanchez, but that is easily caught. And that should be the end of that, you would think. But instead, Christie opts to play it forward to Jordi Barrett. And Brody Retallick, the substitute, going to ground. And that is another intercepted piece of play. I believe Argentina have intercepted that. And could this play be allowed to continue until Argentina score? We will see. But I really can't see any the scoring being changed. We will change. We've already played 2 minutes beyond the 80. So ball being released to Kramer. Still very much in the next phase. Sanchez all the way out to Moroni. And Moroni getting some good yardage near the end. And Mateo Carreras there, obviously trying to make some amends. And that should be intercepted fairly easily. And this would be, well, obviously Leonard Brown hoping to try and kick the ball all the way forward to score a try, but that wouldn't have happened. And I'm not too sure why they're playing the extra minutes, to be honest. We're still in the second half, and it is still New Zealand 44, Argentina 6, and we see Papadi there with his head in his hands, but that should be the end of that, one would think. And yes, it is. So I'm just changing the banners. And you can see the desolation on the faces of the Argentinians. They could potentially have made history tonight, but it just wasn't to be. And this is the main headline, with coverage having ended. New Zealand crushing Argentina by the score of 44-6 and qualifying for the 2023 Rugby World Cup final. And they will face the winner of the South Africa-England semi-final to take place tomorrow, also at 8 p.m. UK, I believe 10 p.m. South Africa, midnight my time over here in India. And if you're watching all the way in Australia and New Zealand, it'll be well into the early hours of the morning, about, I want to say, 5 a.m. or there or thereabout in Australia, and maybe I'd say 6 or 7 a.m. in New Zealand. And no need to watch the highlights of the Fiji-Portugal game. Hanno covered that quite magnificently, including that brilliant last-minute try, which secured a brilliant win for Portugal and sent Australia out of the World Cup at the pool stage. But what can I say? This has been absolute domination, and I'm going to get to some comments right now. Oops. Right. Okay. So, yep. Hope we're all well. Big up, Daz, of course. Not now. The question that you're asking is, will this referee do the final? It might either be him or Wayne Barnes if South Africa qualify. But if England make the final, it could very well be Angus Gardner who does it. Another one who could come into one player, of course. If England reach the final, it could very well be Angus Gardner or Jaco Paper from South Africa, but we will see. Getting ugly for Argentina. Another missed conversion, and Sure Fritz quite happy. And a brilliant win, obviously, for the All Blacks. Sad to see the Ipswich game got called out and called off, rather, due to the weather conditions back in the UK. And take care of yourself. We will see you again soon, Chelsea fan. Completely one-sided, says Stepsy, and couldn't really agree more. I think it's fair to say that I wouldn't go so far to say that New Zealand were in over their heads, really. But, I mean, Argentina were in over their heads. But New Zealand obviously came into this game with a great deal of purpose. And obviously they knew that they had to make sure their dominance counted. So really not too much to say. Whoever New Zealand will face in the final will obviously pose a much tougher test, more sterner opposition, it must be said. And I would definitely go so far to say that unless England cut out the mistakes they made against Samoa and Fiji, which saw both games being decided by the proverbial skin of their teeth, it must be said, then they're going to have a lot of problems against South Africa, who now, of course, by virtue of that brilliant win over the French, will have the bit between their teeth. And I'm just going to find out what's up with Hanno. I think his laptop might have died or something like that, but we will take a look and, in fact, see. And he has, in fact, confirmed that his laptop has indeed died. So I will definitely end the stream. But I want to thank him also for joining in. And obviously, we will talk a little bit about his impressions of the game. But I think he and I pretty much have the same view that Argentina were just outthought, outplayed, and outclassed. And the scoreline says it all, 44-6. This was an absolute domination. So New Zealand crush Argentina, qualified for the final, and they will, of course, be playing the winner of the South Africa-England semi-final, which will be taking place tomorrow. And it will mean almost potentially a bit of a clash between this and the Chelsea-Arsenal game. And, of course, South Africa and England are playing each other in the cricket tomorrow, so tomorrow will be very hectic and busy indeed. But it's certainly something that we are going to look to work around, and bringing you coverage of this tournament has been absolutely enjoyable for both Hanno and me, and thank you very much indeed. And we will definitely be seeing you in the final, and we hope you will join us then. And I also want to thank Daz Reynolds, Chelsea fan, Aaron, Guy, Nippon for joining in earlier. Once again, happy birthday to you. And to the new subscribers as well who've subscribed to this channel, thank you all very much indeed. You will obviously help this channel grow even more exponentially. And there's nothing much more I can really say except thank you all very much indeed. Do enjoy the weekend. Do tuck into the wonderful sporting action that's coming your way way this weekend. Until then, don't do anything that Hanno and I wouldn't do. For now, though, it is time once again for me to say farewell to thee and goodbye to every one of you. God bless and take care. Cheers.